Assassin's Creed, a Black Flag, a resynced. What's the difference at this point, honestly? This is Ubisoft's last opportunity to make some money. They are literally billions in debt. That's right, with the big B, billions, and it's not looking good for them. So, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is one of the most beloved Assassin's Creed games of all time, is potentially what they need to at least stem the bleeding. It's not gonna save them. Last video we did the math, and I will remind you that the math is roughly, yeah, they need something like 10 million sales on this thing, or they're not gonna be able to get out of their debt, which is impossible, obviously. So technically, on paper, Ubisoft's last chance is not gonna cut it, even if it does well. And the chances that this does well are relatively high, but Ubisoft is a very modern day, modern audience type of company. We already saw what they did with our favorite women of the night. They ruined them, they made them fat. It's a sin. Everyone knows it. And they are changing a lot of other things. And the stuff that they are changing, no, they're not even changing it because it needs to be changed. They're just doing it because of pure activism, honestly, at this point. One of the biggest things that people are talking about Assassin's Creed Black Flag that got changed, that got censored and whatnot, is the barmaid woman that you have in the game. She still looks good, but they censored her. And it's the most insane thing ever, honestly, because she still looks good, she still looks feminine, but they just removed her cleavage. And it's not like she had previously a huge amount of that going on. She did. But it wasn't unreasonable. This is effectively a change that most people are scratching their heads and just going like, why would you even do this? I'm not even mad that you did this. I'm just real curious, like, why the hell would you even do it? This is just such a minor thing. And the fact that they are, well, doing such minor things is making people ask the obvious question. What kind of big things are they gonna do? Is this just being spiteful towards the original IP? Because, let's face it, all of these people hate the original works. They want to change them. They want to make them better. And their version of better is worse always. So, we don't know. But chances are, this is just only the beginning. This is only the start, boys, and it's gonna be wild. Okay? We already have some videos of people talking about how disillusioned they are actually about this game being resynced because of all the things that have happened. But it's still an ongoing process, and it's very interesting to see where will this lead. I do think the game will be, well, it's not gonna be a disaster that sells like, well, not sells, but has only like 10k concurrent players on release. I think it's obviously going to be more, probably in the 50k, because that's seemingly what these types of things get at most at this point. But it's very questionable how much they can get from this. Again, Ubisoft already fucked up Assassin's Creed, but Japan, you know, the thing that they literally were saving for rainy days because it was supposed to make billions. And yes, obviously an Assassin's Creed game in Japan is supposed to make billions, but I mean, that was peak modern Ubisoft. And I will remind everyone, I want to remind everyone that it's not like years have passed since Assassin's Creed Shadows dropped. Has a year even actually passed? I don't think it has. And this thing, it's a remake, which means it has been in development since Assassin's Creed Shadows was in development. The timelines kind of match a little bit. So, are we really gonna believe that Ubisoft is not gonna make Black Flag Rogue? I mean, I wish they wouldn't ruin it. But I mean, I really don't see a world where modern Ubisoft does not make this thing in some ways worse. In a lot of ways worse.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced just had another huge update drop, and every single time we get new gameplay or new details about this remake, it genuinely looks better and better. Ubisoft recently published a brand new naval combat deep dive that, breaks down every single way the ship combat has been rebuilt from the ground up. And I've got some thoughts about it. We've got some great things.
I wonder if this is actually going to be good. Because again, Ubisoft is also the company that made Skull and Bones. A literal ship combat game that the ship combat was by far the worst part of it. So, do we trust, there's no fucking way I'm trusting Ubisoft to make the Black Flag ship combat better after Skull and Bones was. Okay, listen. Again, it currently doesn't seem that bad, but the reality is every piece of thing that's close to Black Flag remake is bad. Skull and Bones is bad. Assassin's Creed Shadows is horrible. Everything is really looking, bad here. So, I wonder again, I really want to see the final product. I'm not a believer at this point. I am not a believer.
Got some not so great things and so much more. We're also going to talk about some interesting news that happened not too long ago about the modern day sections that are going to have a lot of OG fans pretty divided. Honestly, the more that I learn about the remake, I just get more excited about it. But also we're in such a pivotal time that I really think that if Ubisoft listens to the fan feedback, they could really build something special here. So let's go ahead and dive.
Listening to fan feedback is how we got ourselves to Nobunaga's bloodline being blackened by Yasuke, bruv.
Into everything. Real quick, guys, before we dive into today's video, I have to show you something that genuinely feels like it came out of with the biggest update of the week, and that was the brand new naval combat deep dive that Ubisoft recently published. They actually gave me access to this stuff a little bit early, and this article deep dive walked through every major change being made to how the ship combat actually works in Black Flag Resynced, and there's some genuinely exciting upgrades in here. But the first thing I want to talk about specifically is the legendary ship encounters, which honestly are one of the most iconic parts of the original Black Flag. For everyone who played the OG, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The HMS Prince, the twins, and so on and so forth. Well, they are back. That is the good news. Obviously, legendary ships are coming back, which we've known about, but the even better news is they've been made to be meaner and more difficult, which that is honestly such a hype direction to take, in my opinion. That sounds so incredible. The original legendary ship fights were already tough, but they were some of the best highlight moments in the entire original game. So the fact that they're back and they're going to be stronger and tougher, dude, that sounds pretty interesting. Now, in the original, there was some cheese strats you could do, which, more power to you. I did it. I'm sure you guys did as well. But I think the absolute biggest addition to the naval combat that, really gets me excited is that the legendary ships are now officially repeatable, which that is such a huge quality of life upgrade. In the original Black Flag, once you defeated a legendary ship, that was it. The fight was over. They were one-time events. You got the reward, the ship was gone from the world, and if you wanted to experience the encounter again, you had to start a brand new save. Now, if you guys were a ball knower and, decided to do a little bit of glitching, you could just only decide to fight one of the Man of War twins and, kill one, get the 10k, and then let the other one kill you, desynchronize, and then you could just rinse and repeat. We'll see if that's going to happen with this game. I doubt it. I'm sure they're probably going to patch a lot of those money glitches and stuff. Yeah, with AC Black Flag Resynced, they said no more are you going to have to glitch like this. If you want to repeat a legendary ship, you can do it. You just have to restart it, which is really cool. So yeah, now you're able to grind them without having to, do any glitches or anything like that. I'm sure the fights are going to be really tough. That's what they're saying, at least. So we will find out if they're going to be that tough as they're saying. This is also giving the legendary ships that replayability factor. So if you really want to fight that's really tough, then we have that option, which is really cool. I always love seeing quality of life like that. So shout out to Ubisoft. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is a feature that I've got some pretty specific thoughts on. I've talked about this before, but Ubisoft confirmed that Black Flag Resynced will have an autopilot feature for the ship, which the idea is essentially that you set a course and then let the ship sail itself across the Caribbean, which that alone is a really solid quality of life.
That's not a, well, if people were complaining about navigation taking too long and being too dull, the solution to that is not adding an autopilot. Bro, what is this, a gacha game? What are we talking about here, bro? Okay, that is bad. You see, this is what I'm talking about, Ubisoft. Modern solutions for problems they have absolutely no idea about. Okay, and that is one of them. Like, again, you need to be really fucking stupid to think an autopilot function is what people want if if you know, navigating in your ship takes too long if you have a destination in mind. How about adding some stuff that's at least interesting to look at on the way there? You know, like a bikini bar, a strip club.
Edition. Like the original Black Flag could feel a little bit tedious, you know, during longer ship crossings or, you know, voyages across the ocean. But here's where I have some genuine feedback for Ubisoft. The autopilot feature, in my opinion, sounds great. Like on paper, it's pretty cool, but there should also be an option to...
Now it sounds stupid. If he's gonna say fast travel, I will lose it.
Actually leave the wheel and freely explore your ship while it sails. That's one of the criticisms that I had for Starfield as well, like the fact that we're on our, you know, ship, our spaceship, and we're flying through space. We get to customize our ship and stuff, but if you leave the helm, the thing just stays there. Like, what are we doing? But they fixed that with a later update. Now imagine...
Yeah, and nobody cares. Starfield is still a horrible game.
Imagine with Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, the ability to, you know, walk down to the lower decks, interact with your crew, check on your gear, just look at the vistas, like, you know, hang on to one of the masts while your ship is going to the destination. Like, obviously that would increase the, you know, overall immersion factor. I'm sorry, but if I'm on a ship and I just let go of the helm for a little bit, maybe have somebody else on the bridge or, you know, at the helm while I'm not there, like another helmsman, like the sailing master or something like that, while I'm not on the bridge, have someone else command the vessel while I'm not there. So Ubisoft, if you hear this, I would absolutely love for this to be a launch feature, but if it has to come like later in a post-launch update or something like that, I would be fine with it. Ubisoft's response during the AMA was essentially that they didn't want to add this because you never know when an attack is coming. And I get that concern if you jump overboard, or like, for instance, if you're like chilling on one of the masts at the top, or you're just kind of AFK, then obviously like your ship is going to get attacked eventually. But like, I feel like that's an easy solution where you could just prompt the player to go back to the helm, or you auto put them back to the helm, give us a clear notification that you have to get back to the helm, and if you don't get back to the helm, then it, like, you know, fast travels you or something. That could create some really interesting and like unique moments where it really feels like you're a pirate captain, deal with like a...
Sounds pretty lame at this point, not gonna lie.
Really surprise encounter because you're not paying attention, like you're not on that big third-person view seeing everything in your surroundings. It would, like, you know, feel like you're a genuine pirate on your ship. I don't know, in my opinion, it's a missed opportunity for the launch version, but hey, if they, you know, hear this,
Dude, look at how good, honestly, a couple of things look. And I know I say this myself all the time, we can't judge games by, you know, thing in distance looking nice.
Hear this cry, that would be an awesome post-launch edition, in my opinion. Now, there's also a ton of other major updates from this deep dive that I want to run through quickly because every single one of these is, you know, pretty solid. Obviously, there's no more loading screens. Black Flag Resynced is fully seamless between naval gameplay and major cities. The game features all 35 original shanties plus 10 brand new ones. As I've talked about before, free diving is officially back as well. You can now dive underwater, and this is wherever you want without the diving bell. Obviously, the diving bell is also in the game. Now, there's also a dynamic morale system. Forts no longer have fixed objectives. Once you lower the morale enough, the commander stands up and fights you in person rather than surrendering like in the original. Now, every jackdaw weapon now has a secondary fire mode, heated shots for the broadside cannons, double shots for the bow chaser cannons, shrapnel barrels that can now shred enemy sails. We also got the confirmation that the ram dash is unlocked way earlier. In the original, it was a reward for beating all of the legendary ships at the end, but now you can unlock it much earlier in the game. As I've mentioned on the channel before, there's new recruitable officers, 3 new ones. Now there's a brand new 4th reward option when boarding larger ships like frigates and man of wars. Next up, ships from different factions will now fight each other on the open seas, which is kind of cinematic, honestly, and you know, opens up a good third-party opportunity, which is pretty cool. And then we have Kinway's fleet is now, you know, fully integrated. There's no companion app. The fleet system is now built directly into the game and accessible from the captain's cabin. I honestly recommend, you know, checking out the full blog post because it was quite the deep dive. Now, another cool addition that Ubisoft confirmed is the actual lightning strike damages during storms do AoE damage, which is really cool. Like, it looks so cinematic. Now, during weather events, you actually have to watch the sky.
Bro, that fucking looked bad. That looked so bad.
and be aware of lightning strikes because they will be hitting. A strike near your ship or a nearby enemy ship can now deal damage, which adds some unique variety whenever you're dealing with, like, you know, the actual ship combat in the crazy weather. I just hope it's not a situation where like every weather event like guarantees that the lightning is going to strike one of your boats. That might be a little bit repetitive, so hopefully they, you know, do a good job at balancing things. But stacking all this together, like the upgraded legendary ships being, you know, tougher and more difficult, the repeatable encounters, the autopilot, and the slew of other, you know, upgrades that I talked about.
Upgrades, he says.
The naval gameplay definitely looks pretty interesting, and I can't wait to...
I'm also, by the way, very worried about the fact that they are concentrating on the naval gameplay. Now, we already had some non-naval gameplay, but it's kind of worrying that this is what they are mostly seemingly concentrated on. Because, yeah, people like Assassin's Creed Black Flag for the naval gameplay, sure. But, I mean, you should probably show a little bit more of the non-naval gameplay. So far, we have had parkour, some combat, but other than that, honestly, not really much. It seems like a very, very basic Assassin's Creed game outside of this. Are they really not gonna show anything else? That kind of be a little bit of you know, letdown, honestly.
Really dive more into it. Obviously, you know, we'll have to see how it, you know, turns out at launch. I played 3 hours of the game. I didn't really dive too much into the, you know, ocean, I guess you can say. I did, but it was mainly to go from point A to point B because I wanted to see the other stuff. Okay, so now let's get to the news that has the OG fan base kind of divided, because Ubisoft also confirmed in a recent interview, I believe it was with Games Radar, but they said that the Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is going to be cutting the Abstergo modern day sections from the original game, which we've known about. Ubisoft's reasoning for cutting these sections is essentially that the modern day story that they told in the original game no longer fits the current Assassin's Creed canon. They specifically said that Desmond's story is not really the question that's being asked today. So instead of trying to like retrofit the original modern day sections into the current state of the franchise, they're just removing them entirely, which honestly, I'm really conflicted about this decision. Like, on one hand,
Oh yeah, this does make sense for people who are interested in the lore.
Guess I understand, like, it's ish, like I kind of understand ish. The AC franchise has moved so far past the Desmond storyline over the past like decade that,
yeah, and people would also say that that's not exactly good. Desmond was the OG Assassin's Creed thing. His story mattered a fucking lot, let's be real. So yeah, that was West Nemo, 10 out of 10. Bye.